The judge looked me straight in the eye and said the words that shattered my world. "You are not the father." My wife's eyes didn't even flinch. She'd been waiting for that moment. 15 years of marriage gone in a single sentence. But here's what she didn't know. Truth has a way of finding its way home. And one day, even my son would see it. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted most, if you've ever been made to feel small, powerless, or replaced, hit that like button. Because what you're about to hear is how a broken man rebuilt his name and served justice in the most unexpected way. Subscribe now, because this isn't just a revenge story. It's a story about truth, dignity, and the power of a father's love. You know that feeling when your whole world stops, but the rest of the room keeps moving. That's what it felt like when the judge said it. "Mr. Reynolds, the DNA test concludes that you are not the biological father." Silence, the kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. 15 years of marriage, 11 years of raising a boy I called my son. All of it erased by a single sentence. Karen didn't cry. She didn't look shocked. She just sat there calm, like this was all part of her plan. That's when I knew she wanted this. She wanted me to hurt. The courtroom blurred. The judge's voice faded. I just kept staring at Karen, the woman I once thought I'd grow old with. "You knew, didn't you?" I whispered. She didn't answer, just smirked. That faint smirk that said, "Finally, I win." My heart dropped. This wasn't about truth, and it was about power. And in that moment, I had none. When we left the courtroom, she walked ahead like a stranger. Our son Ethan wasn't there. She'd told him, "Daddy's busy with boring court stuff." Outside, the cold air hit me hard. I leaned against the wall, trying to make sense of it all. Every memory, every bedtime story, every scraped knee I'd kissed better, flashed through my mind. Was it all fake? Was I loving someone else's child this whole time? But deep down I knew something the court didn't. Ethan was my son, maybe not by blood, but by every measure that mattered. That night, I sat alone in the house that suddenly felt too quiet. His toys still on the floor, his drawings still on the fridge. A crayon picture of us, stick figures holding hands, with a shaky caption, "Me and Dad." I stared at that picture until the edges blurred through my tears. How do you explain to a boy that the law just decided his dad isn't his dad anymore? A week later, Karen came to pick up her things. No apology, no shame, just cold eyes. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said. "You'll get over it, and Ethan will too." Get over it? How do you get over losing your own child? I didn't yell, I just nodded. Because inside something was breaking, but something else was waking up. That quiet, burning anger that doesn't explode. It waits, it plans, it remembers. The next day I got a message from Ethan's school. They said he'd been quieter than usual, that he asked his teacher if he'd done something wrong, if Dad didn't want him anymore. That broke me, but it also gave me something I hadn't had since court, purpose, because I realized this wasn't about Karen anymore, it was about him, about making sure my son knew the truth, about who his real father was. That night I stared at his drawing again. "You took my name away from a paper," I whispered. "But you'll never take it from his heart." From that day I decided, no screaming, no lawyers, no drama. Just truth, slow, patient, unstoppable. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting truth speak louder than lies. They say you never really know someone until you see what they do when they think you're no longer useful to them. After the ruling, nights felt longer, the house emptier. Every corner whispered memories of us. Karen's lies had cracks even years ago. She'd come home late from work events. Her perfume smelled different. And when I'd ask, she'd laugh. "Don't be paranoid, Jack, you're not that guy." And she was right. I wasn't, because I trusted her completely. Love makes you blind, and I was blind for years. One memory replayed like a broken tape. The night Ethan was born. The doctor handed me that tiny crying miracle. Karen smiled, but not at me. Now I realize she looked relieved, but not for the reason I thought. After the trial, I tried reaching Ethan, but Karen had blocked my number. Messages unanswered. I even tried seeing him at school once. He saw me, eyes lit up, ran toward me, but his teacher stopped him. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reynolds. Karen said you're not allowed here." Not allowed, like I was a stranger. I went home and sat in Ethan's old room, his baseball glove on the shelf, the smell of his shampoo still in the air. Under his pillow I found a folded note, another drawing, 2 stick figures, same as before. But this time he'd written, "I miss you, Dad." That broke me, but it told me he knew. No matter what Karen said, he still believed in me. Days later, I met my old friend Tom at a diner. He looked nervous. "Jack," he said, "I saw Karen years ago. She wasn't alone." My chest tightened. "Who?" "Mark," he said. "The guy from her office, the one who sat behind her in court." I froze. That man who smirked every time I looked their way, and it was him. Tom sighed. I didn't want to interfere before, but now it all makes sense. I nodded slowly. I wasn't angry at Tom. I was angry at myself and for being blind. That night I drove past Karen's new house. Through the window I saw her laughing with Mark, and Ethan sitting quiet, pushing food around. He looked up once and smiled when he saw me outside. Just for a second. That secret kind of smile only a son gives his father. Driving home, something changed. The pain was still there, but sharper, more focused. This wasn't about losing anymore. It was about reclaiming what was mine, the truth. Karen thought she'd buried me with that court order, but she didn't know me. I'd built my life on patience and integrity, and now I'd use that same strength to take back everything she stole. Not through hate, through truth. Because truth has a longer memory than lies. Grief had turned into something else now. Clarity. That's where revenge really begins. Her lawyer smiled smugly. "Mr. Turner, you have no legal claim to the child. You were deceived, yes, but the law recognizes biology, not sentiment." Those words cut deeper than any knife. But I wasn't about to give up. If the law couldn't give me justice, I'd build my own path to it. And that started with finding out who the real father was. I hired a private investigator, a quiet man named Harris who had a knack for digging up truths people wanted buried. In 3 weeks he returned with photos, bank statements, and one sentence that changed everything. "Your wife's lover is Judge Morgan's son." The same judge who had declared I wasn't the father. The same man who shattered my world in one cold sentence. The betrayal wasn't just personal anymore. It was corruption, the kind that hides behind black robes and courtroom walls. And for the first time since that day, I smiled, because now I had power. I didn't go to the police. Corruption that deep doesn't crumble from one report. I needed evidence that couldn't be denied. So I played the long game. I started visiting old friends from the legal community, the kind who owed me favors. I leaked small details, just enough to stir whispers in the courthouse. Then I found my son's school records and discovered that Judge Morgan's son had been secretly funding his tuition. The pattern was clear. Money transfers, hidden meetings, a trail of deceit that tied them together like chains. One night, I met my ex-wife in the parking lot of the same courthouse where my life had fallen apart. She looked older, tired, maybe even guilty. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. "Then why did you?" I asked. She had no answer, only tears. I turned and walked away, but not before whispering, "Tell your lover to enjoy his freedom while it lasts." The next morning, I handed Harris the full case file, every document, every photo, and told him to leak it to the press anonymously. By noon, headlines screamed, "Judge Morgan's son involved in paternity scandal, possible court bias exposed." The system turned on itself overnight. Investigations launched, reputations crumbled, and for the first time the world saw what I had endured. A month later I received a letter, unsigned, but I knew who it was from. It read, "I'm sorry, he knows now. Your son knows the truth." I sat on my porch watching the sunset, the same way I had 15 years ago when my world was whole. And for the first time in years, I felt peace, because revenge isn't always about hurting someone back. Sometimes it's about making sure truth finally speaks for itself.